Do you have an anterior pelvic tilt and you're trying all these things to fix it? I'm gonna show you one exercise you could do that you're probably missing. What's up, Dr. Nick here. In today's video, we're gonna be going over how to fix an anterior pelvic tilt. Now you probably heard you gotta stretch out your hip flexors because when your hip flexors are super tight, it will tilt it forward. So you gotta stretch them out all day. Well, let's take a little bit of a different approach here. When you are looking at an anterior pelvic tilt, it could happen for multiple reasons. A weak core, tight hip flexors. But we have to think about the other side, the glutes. Now, in this video, we're gonna be looking at it from a strength perspective. Now, if the hip flexors are always tight and stiff, and you're trying to stretch them out and addressing it that way, and nothing is improving, you have to ask and zoom out, are they tight because it's compensating for a lack of stability and strength in another area? So by just stretching them out, you potentially are just making the problem perpetuate or worse because it's not a flexibility issue, it's a strength issue. So let's address this problem in this video from a strength perspective. So if we're in an anterior pelvic tilt like this, tilting the pelvis forward, this pelvis would shoot forward and it would cause a lot of arching sensations into the back. This can create low back pain and other areas. But if we're here like this in the anterior pelvic tilt and I'm arching excessively from my low back, if I just squeeze my glutes really hard and I contract them, what will happen is it will posterior pelvic tilt my pelvis. That will flatten out my back naturally. So if we create more activation and attention to activating the glutes, it will posterior pelvic tilt the glutes, taking your low back out of that extension position that an anterior pelvic tilt creates. You squeeze the glutes, it posterior pelvic tilts the pelvis, and it creates more of that neutrality that you're looking for and get more neutral in the pelvis without excessive anterior pelvic tilt. So let's target the glute activation with this one simple exercise. Now there's variations of glute bridges that you could do, and the amount of exercises can be endless. But the idea with this is to slow things down, take a step back, and get more mind-body connection and specificity to this region. So we're gonna take a yoga block, we're gonna put it in between the legs, we're gonna squeeze the legs nice and tight. That will create stability and just activation into the lower part of the legs. Now, before we bridge up, we wanna think about curling our spine into a posterior pelvic tilt. So I'm gonna think about curling, I'm squeezing my abs, and I'm curling the pelvis and the low back. And then I squeeze my glutes, I drive through my heels, and I raise up. What this is doing is squeezing my glutes, my hamstrings, I'm squeezing the yoga block, creating a lot of stability and activation to this region. And then I come back. The idea behind curling and squeezing is that we take away the likelihood of just going up and arching from the back. Because if we're not having that mind-body connection throughout this exercise, we could just be going up and just arching from the back as we go up, compensating throughout the motion. Hey, real quick, if you're liking this content, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button. It really helps out with my channel and I really do appreciate it. All right, back to the content. So we want to squeeze, curl, think about flattening your low back into the ground by squeezing your abs before you go up into the bridge. And then you hold this position. You could hold this position for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. It's gonna be very specific to what you feel like you're actually getting a challenge from. And then you come back down. So again, squeeze, curl, flatten the back, and then bridge up. And then you hold. What this does is create activation to the glutes and the whole posterior chain to ultimately help posterior pelvic tilt the pelvis and create more of that activation to the backside. Over time, that creates more input to that region, which would then help get it out of that anterior pelvic tilt position. Now, the idea with that exercise is to get more specific and think about the reasons behind it's actually being done. It's not just get on the floor and bridge up and do hip thrusters and do all these crazy things, because that's easy. We have to scale back and get more specific to actually helping this type of issue. In this video, we focused on glute activation and how it plays a role into helping this whole issue. Now, are there other things probably to do? Of course, but hopefully this video gave you some insight on why you want to zoom out, scale back, and think about the specificity on actually addressing this issue. A thing to keep in mind with that type of exercise by doing that is we have to keep in mind flexion sensitivity to the back. When we have a lot of back pain, it gets sensitive to flexion. What does that mean? When it flexes forward. Think about bending over, you're rounding, or going into a posterior pelvic tilt. Now, people with low back pain that has flexion sensitivity, I wouldn't recommend actually doing that exercise depending on what stage you're in, because it could contribute to some of the issues. So that's why specificity is so important, to figure out what you need to do in your specific case so that you could actually make the gains that you're actually looking for. If you did find value in this video, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, like this video, turn on your post notifications so you never miss a video when I put it out. I really do appreciate the support. Also, if you're looking to understand how to get out of pain that you might be dealing with, aches, nagging issues, flexibility, stiffness, that are just getting in the way of doing the things that you love to do, like work out or just live life, then there's a link below where you can actually schedule a free discovery call with me or one of my team members to understand a little bit more about you and the direction that you're going into, to figure out what roadmap that you actually need to do. There's no selling on this call. It's completely free. There's no risks. There's no obligations. You just click the link below, schedule it, hop on the call, and let's see what things are going on and what you actually need to do moving forward for long-term goals of yours. Until next time, this is Dr. Nick. I'll see you.